Hello, Fast LEGO Studios here, and welcome back, guys, to week 7 of building up the LEGO Simpsons Springfield. Let's jump right into it. And here we are again, guys, about to begin building this huge LEGO Simpsons Springfield. But before I dive in, I once again want to remind you guys, if you have not already supported the LEGO Simpsons Krusty Burger on LEGO Ideas, I highly recommend that you guys go ahead and support that project. Because if you do, and if it hits 10,000 supporters, LEGO will take it into consideration to becoming an official LEGO set. Ultimately meaning this could be the return of this short-lived and highly anticipated LEGO Simpsons theme. And there are lots and lots of possibilities here that the LEGO Simpsons theme could expand to. It would mean the world to me and to the entire LEGO community who would love to see the short-lived LEGO Simpsons theme return. But with all of that being out of the way, let's get back to building the LEGO Simpsons Springfield for week number 7 right now. Alright, guys, in jumping right into week 7 of building the Simpsons Springfield, once again continuing upon building the Simpsons house and the second floor, what I'm planning to do in this week is continue upon the second floor roofs going right on top of the build. Get a lot more of those understandings towards like the sizes of the roofs, perhaps some of these sloping, at what angle will those roof panels be sitting at, and just get a feel for how the final model may as well look like. But besides that there, what I as well would like to focus on in this week's episode is building up a little bit more of the interior that is going to go into the inside of the second floor to the Simpsons house. Continuing upon filling up the rooms with a lot more detail, and perhaps, just perhaps, begin building up the base plate that's going to be going underneath the Simpsons house, and soon we'll be expanding over the rest of the entire Simpsons Springfield. But for now, as we just have built up the Simpsons house, we can build up the base plates underneath the house itself. Perhaps get some of the garage floor in place, or we may put it off until next week's episode, but time will tell, and we'll see what progress we can make. But with all of that being said, let's move on to those updates and continue building up the Simpsons house. Alright, guys, and jumping into the very first update of the week here, you guys can see I've got some exterior progress done, and I've got some interior progress done as well. But starting off with the exterior, something that I just haven't planned of doing in this week's episode, or really to the Simpsons house, but until I looked up at the reference images once more, I have noticed that the windows going right off on the sides are a slight bit smaller than the official LEGO Simpsons design. So I went ahead and just modded those windows a little bit more and just shrunk them by like another 2 studs. And by doing so, I think this makes the overall aesthetic of both windows to look a lot more accurate. Not only this, but once we take a look over into the interior, on the opposite side of the slightly modified window right here, I was able to incorporate another small detail right into the build. With this overall window assembly being modified, it allowed a little bit more room to incorporate another detail, and that detail was another portrait of Grandpa Simpson. I've got that integrated into the wall right here, and I've taken the very same one off of the rumpus room. Basically, for concept reasons, I have removed it out of this room, but probably will be just getting another one of those stickers and attaching it into the rumpus room as well. But now getting back to the second floor of the Simpsons house, In terms of the roof, you guys can see I have gotten a little bit more progress made to it. Nothing too crazy or spectacular, but I've got a little bit more progress done to the overall roof with adding in a couple more plates here and there and just rebuilding it to a little bit more of an extent. And with the current parts in terms of the plates, doesn't really look like I can get too far in building the overall roofs, and I'm gonna be needing to make another bricklink order soon enough to where I can get all of those plates in, and that shouldn't really take too long until like next week or sometime by then. When I get those plates in, I'll really get to building a very good majority of the roof and just finish it all off. I have gotten a little bit more things planned with the roof, so expect progress very soon. Now looking over into the second floor interior of the Simpsons house. If you guys remember from like week 5 of building Springfield, I said I had this mystery space that I just didn't know what to do here because it was so very strange to have this negative space. And after doing some research, I have figured out I actually could do something that was very much like in the Simpsons TV show. And if you guys remember from like season 3 of The Simpsons, there was a pan shot of the camera going from the TV room up into Lisa's room. And well, when the camera panned over there, there were just piles and piles of gold being wedged in between those two floors right there. And with that being in mind, The Simpsons most likely, or at least I can safely assume that The Simpsons most likely have no idea that they're basically just rich, and they have no idea that they even are because it's literally just wedged in between the floors. And with this area being more of a mystery area as well of the Simpsons house, I thought of why not go ahead and include that very little reference being placed right into this corner here. I've started upon filling up this entire space with gold bars, gold nuggets, and with having the wooden floorboards running across the rest of the room. I am planning to add in a bunch of 1x1 round tiles, dump all of them into this small space, and make it very piled up with gold, resembling that very same idea cross that we had in between the first and second floor. Absolutely cannot wait to get that in place. Gonna have to make a bricklink order in that will have all of those parts. And finally, as other progress goes, you guys can see I've got a little bit more of the hallway complete, adding in a bunch more of the medium nougat tiles into place, rounding them around the purple carpets, making it look a lot nicer. But that right there, guys, is all of the progress that I've made so far on the Simpsons house. Definitely some very solid improvements made to the overall aesthetic, and getting a little bit more of the interior to the second floor built up. But now, let's continue upon building the Simpsons house once again. Alright guys, and jumping right into the very next update of the week here, you guys can see we have got something very special being built up right here. But before we dive in and look at all of this here, in terms of the Simpsons house progress, I really haven't gotten anything done here yet, simply again because I'm waiting upon a bricklink order, or 2 bricklink orders that have a very large amount of bricks to be building up the entirety, or at least the rest of the Simpsons house. So until then, probably until next week's episode, that there will be all continued then. What this is gonna be, and what I'm building right here, is Evergreen Terrace. The street Evergreen Terrace, where the Simpsons live. Here we are building it, the beginning layout of Springfield, and I'm very excited and hyped to be building all of this here. But diving right in, you guys can see I've got some basic brick layouts being done all throughout, figuring out how much brick spacing am I going to have between base plates, and figuring out what's going to be the most solid kind of understanding of how these plates are going to go together so everything stays nice and solid and doesn't bow, warp, or anything like that once we get the very good, hefty Springfield Simpsons house, Flanders' house, Brown house, and all of that attached onto this here. This just creates a significant more reinforcements within the layers with adding in all of these bricks going all throughout, and I'm very satisfied with what we have going on as of now. But going over to the more complete side of things and the more polished up looking one, soon we'll be working on that end there. But for now, what we have going on right here is I've got the garage floor already being built up here. And basically, if you guys don't know, I haven't gotten any progress done in terms of the garage floor, or at least haven't attached it into the overall first floor of the Simpsons house, simply because I didn't really see a connection point that I could have gotten to attach it right into the build, and so I decided to attach it right onto the entirety of Springfield and all of that there. And if any of you guys are wondering, how is this entire Springfield layout, given how large and hefty it's gonna be, how are you to transport it from place to place? And well, to just reduce the stress on Lego pieces and just the overall stress of the model given how big and how hefty it's gonna be, I'll be making the entire Simpsons Springfield very, very modular. And when I say that, I'm basically gonna be taking the very same concept that the Lego Creator Expert Modular Building Series has, with their buildings being on these Technic pin connections that you're very easily able to remove. And so we're gonna have like these pins going from base plate to base plate, from corner to corner. You guys can see over here we have basically the very same thing done, and that is going to create a much more easy modularity between each and every chunk of Springfield and make it a lot more easily transportable. And once we get the very good majority of these bright green Lego base plates attached right onto the overall perimeter of these two 48 by 48 base plates here, we will be then able to get the Simpsons house attached onto all of that there. I am absolutely hyped to see how all of that is going to turn out in the end. I think we have made a very solid majority of construction done within this week's episode. So with all of that being said, let's move out into the outro and finish off week number 7. And there we are, guys, at the end of building the LEGO Simpsons Springfield for week number 7. We have done it again, guys. We have made some very solid progress in this week's episode, even though we didn't particularly get that bricklink order just yet to be finishing off the Simpsons house. We have started upon building the street of where the Simpsons live on, Evergreen Terrace. From this point forward, we're going to be continuing upon building that as well, in combination with building up the Simpsons house and all of the other buildings and making it grow out even more from this point forward. So a lot more exciting things to come and to be building this massive LEGO project here, and I absolutely cannot wait to expand this layout. But aside from that, other progress that I did manage to get done within the Simpsons house in this week's episode is just shifting around the overall exterior design with the windows, making it look a lot more accurate to the show, and figuring out what I can do with that little corner space that I didn't particularly know what I could have done with if it weren't to be for that one episode from The Simpsons. But anyhow, moving into next week's episode and what progress I would want to make then is greatly continue upon building the Simpsons house. Of course, once I get that bricklink order in, I should be able to complete the entirety of the Simpsons house and just take a step back and look at the entire UCS LEGO Simpsons house. But then once that is complete, if we have the time next week's episode, I'll go back to be building Evergreen Terrace and place all of the necessary bright green Lego plates around the perimeter of the base plate, get a lot more of those little details being placed onto it, and continue in general building up Evergreen Terrace. So a lot more progress ahead of us, and I'm greatly excited to see what is to come in the near future. But with all of that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, and comments down below of what are your guys' thoughts on the overall progress of Evergreen Terrace and the Simpsons house. But with all of that being in mind, keep on building, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.